I'm going to show you some setups from this week that we had highlighted in the various blog posts, and also I'm going to show you some of Judith's as well. This was the euro pound, and if you looked at the Sunday analysis and also in the forum, I was showing you how we had a classic head and shoulders pattern, and I explained that with a head and shoulders pattern what you were looking for, you are looking for the space between the head and the neckline. So you've got the head, left shoulder, right shoulder, this is the neckline. You're then looking for a breakout to equal the same distance. Now I wait for a pullback, that's my preferred method of entry. Judith on the other hand took this at 77.80 I believe and made 130 pips out of this yesterday. And what Judith does, if I'll show you, this is her blog post from last night, and this is showing you where she entered. She entered at 7,800, 0.7800, and she's just got out this morning. And Judith uses an approach that is a combination of technical and fundamental. She does her detailed fundamental analysis on the blog on a Monday, and then on a Thursday, which is this post I'm showing you now, what she's doing is she is using fundamental and technical analysis to take the trade. So when I was talking to her this morning, she was explaining to me this was to do with pound strength yesterday. There was some upbeat news on the pound, and combine that with the head and shoulders pattern gave her added confidence to take that trade. Now, if you missed it, the way to play this on the daily is that you're looking for a pullback, and therefore, as ever, I want to pull back to the break area. So anywhere between 77.50, it depends, you see, on this one. It could be this is the neckline, it could be that. So anywhere in this area for a pullback for me, I will take the trade. Now, what you could have done on a 4-hour chart, you go down to a 4-hour chart, and I missed this, but we had the initial breakout, and then we've got the limited pullback back here. But if you're trading a pullback, you just need the old patience and discipline. And I also showed you in Wednesday's update, this is a break of a major trend line, and this is where Judith and Robbie got in, our trading duo. Again, if you're trading this on a weekly, then what you need is a pullback to this area. This is significant. This goes back to September of last year. This is potentially a major move on this pair, and therefore if we get a pullback anywhere up here, we've got the potential 400 pips down here, and possibly 800 or 900 all the way down to the bottom. Therefore this is highly significant, and there are a lot of trades at the moment, guys, lining up, all from weekly and daily, that are similar scenarios. So we could be on for a very good run up to prior to the summer low, where usually July, August we go into a ranging market. Now, let me show you here. This is the pound Aussie dollar, and the pound Aussie dollar, I showed you on Sunday that this is a major channel here, and this channel, it doesn't look very big here, but this is a channel of 500 pips. So I explained how we were looking for pullbacks in various areas, but I was concerned with this 55 EMA here. So what I was saying with this pair, I was looking for a breakout and then a pullback. Now at the moment, where's it stopped? Spookily to the pip at the upper trend line. But this is definitely a trade I will be looking for early next week or later this week if it happens, for a pullback anywhere back down here, because that way you're looking for a stop the other side of the trend line. We'll also look at fibs and EMAs on smaller time frames, but you're looking at a potential gain up here of 570 pips, and it has done it on a number of occasions before. Now, those of you who prefer to trade from smaller time frames, I implore you, go to the longer time frames first, make a note of important areas and lines like these, and then make a plan for what you're going to do when price gets down here. Now, the new system that Fotis, Pierre and myself have been working on is aimed at helping you, for those of you who actually struggle with the entries when you get back to an area. But this is a potential very big trade, and there are a lot of them at the moment. Now just excuse me a second, because I just need to take a drink of water. So Dapo was asking what's a pullback. Dapo, the pullback is everything that we teach at Mentor Pro. You need to study the education area, but in principle what it means is that you look for a break of an area. As you can see here on the euro pound, price clearly breaks out of an area. You then look for price to pull back with the view to a continuation move down, and that is the M2 method and the Earth and Sky method, and STT is all about breakouts and pullbacks. Now, as I showed you, Judith took a trade from a continuation move, and Fotis often takes trades initially when price breaks out. So that comes down to you as an individual trader. What do you prefer? I prefer a pullback because you can then have a smaller stop and you have the chance of catching a part of this move. So for example, had you missed this move now and you jump in at the bottom, Murphy's law is this will pull back before then continuing the move. So I personally, my trading style is to prefer to wait for it to pull back. Now, Aussie dollar yen, on the subject of pullbacks, this was a classic move that I called. Those of you with us last year, when price was down here, I explained why, for multiple reasons, I had been looking for a pullback here on Aussie dollar yen. And in fact, if we refit it back to the original move, you can see you have an intersection here of a major weekly trend line. You have the 61.8 fit just above, and you have the 55 EMA and the 200 EMA, and the 55 is crossing. This is about as textbook as you can get for an M2 trade. And again, we're looking for as many reasons as possible, technically, why price is likely to react in an area. It did it previously on this move, and what we're looking for again now, we're looking for the same thing. Now, it did it back here, and those of you with us for the previous months, when I missed this by a pip or two, which was spitting feathers, because when it was down here I was looking for the move, it didn't quite get there and I missed the initial part of it. But here, price currently is stalling, it's going sideways. If it pulls back, this is a huge area of confluence once again. And these moves, guys, you're talking about this move here, stop the other side of the trend line and the EMAs if you wanted to be conservative. Yes, it's 100 pips, which would scare some of you to death, but the potential for this trade was 800 pips down to the recent low, and as it went to 120. And again, this is key when you're trading. It's all about the risk-reward ratio. If you are risking, I talked with a guy the other day, he'd been taught by some guru who was teaching a system that risked 40 pips a trade to win 20. Mathematically, you'll never make any money at it, because 3 or 4 bad trades and it can wipe you out. And it certainly will wipe all the profit out. So you must be looking for trades that are going to give you at least twice what you're risking. But I've shown a lot of trades this week where you have the potential that they could make up to 10 times the risk. This was what I was showing you last week. This was a perfect example of an M2 breakout. You were looking for price to break and close below a major area. And again, those of you who've been with us for a while have had this in place for weeks and weeks and weeks. And what I said on Sunday in my analysis, after this break on a weekly chart, I am looking for a pullback here to take this trade. And this worked perfectly to the pip, and is currently 70 odd pips in profit. So this is the breakout, this is the pullback. Now, the overall target, hoped for target on here, is down here. And the reason being, well, it's done it before, it keeps bouncing off the top and it keeps bouncing off the bottom. However, one way to deal with this, if it starts losing, for me, I was in this the other day, it came back and took me out and I got in again. But the other option with this is once you start to get into profit, you can scale out. You take some of the profit out of the trade and then you leave the balance to run, hoping to catch the big move. But this trade, technically, you've had the breakout. Now for me, on this one, on Sunday and again on Wednesday, what I showed you was I showed you how I had got in here. This was the big breakout. But I showed you that then during the week, you look for a break and close of this major trend line. This is a daily trend line that goes back to January. So that break is significant. Then you look for the pullback. And for me, I wouldn't be entering until it gets back up here. Because again, breakout, pullback, hopefully a move down. And again, the potential for this, if you put your stop the other side of the EMAs, is only 30 pips. If you want to go mega conservative, it's 70, 80 pips. But the potential here is for a 500 pip drop down here. And therefore, you have to give a bigger trade, a longer time frame trade, you have to give it more time to breathe and space to breathe, and you've got to hold your nerve with it. The problem with retail traders is that they panic when it starts to go against them, they close it, they get out, and then they watch it go 500 pips. If you can pay more attention to the fundamentals and what Judith is teaching, it will give you that bit of extra confidence. But again, there's still no guarantee that it's going to work, but it's probability, and the probability on a technical basis, that is a very good setup.